guys. Welcome to day 5 of our Natural Health and Wellness Week. And it's been a blast. And there's been more than I can fit into 5 days. So I mentioned yesterday, we're going to be continuing this into next week too. So we're going to have 2 weeks worth of this really awesome, encouraging content that I hope you're loving. I'm getting a lot of good feedback from you. So keep letting me know what you're enjoying and what you want to see more of. I'm noticing that I look like I'm sunburned because our house is red and the sun is reflecting off of the red siding outside of our porch here. So I look like I'm a little sunburned, but I'm not. I do love being in the sun, but I didn't get sunburned. So I see a few of you are hopping on. Good to see you guys. I really am so bad at Instagram handles. Lori, I can read that one. Hi, Lori. Glad you're here. Ramona, glad you're here. We have a guest joining us. Hi, Linda. And hi, Robin. Hi, Wendy. We have a guest joining us in just a couple minutes. I think she's currently at the office and she's taking a 10-minute break in between patients. So I was so glad that she was willing to do this. Dr. Michelle is a friend. She's been on the podcast. And as usual, I've been saying this all week long, leave a comment when the live is over. If you leave the comment now, I'm not going to be able to respond to it because Instagram doesn't keep the contents, which really kind of bugs me. I wish there was a way that they could, because I want to go back and see your comments and reread them. So I try to get them all while I'm on. And then after the live ends, please leave a comment, just says wellness. Comment wellness, and I will make sure I get you the information about the schedule for what's still to come so you know when to join us. And all of the information that Dr. Michelle and I talk about, I will send you those details in a link afterwards. So comment wellness and I'll make sure you get all the resources. I have a little bit of show and tell here for some of the things Dr. Michelle and I are talking about. I even brought something out of the freezer. It's going to start to get the table all well. But today we're talking about inflammation again. Yesterday's live was about inflammation and natural remedies for inflammation that we fight in our body. And today's live, we're going a little deeper into the topic and we're talking about 4 different foods that cause inflammation. The bad options, and then we're also going to give you the good options. So don't be disheartened when you hear some of the things you should avoid if you want to heal your inflammation. I don't know what that sound is. Wow. I'm on the front porch and that sounded like a distressed cat. We do have a lot of wild animals. We live in the rural area of, I see you're commenting wellness. Please make sure you comment again when the live is over. We live in rural New Hampshire, and there was a bear sighting just 2 days ago at our neighbors. So hopefully that's not a cat in distress. We do have barn cats that we adore. I'm watching for Dr. Michelle to join in. She'll be here any minute. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Michelle. Dr. Michelle Jorgensen is an author and a speaker and a biologic and holistic dentist. She's been on the podcast. I will send you a link to our fascinating talk that we had on my podcast after this if you comment wellness. She actually went through a really disturbing personal health battle, and it took her some investigation to realize what was happening. But she was actually she was dealing with lead poisoning, and she's actually here mercury poisoning, because of, I need to figure out how to get you in, Dr. Michelle. There we go. Because of removing the mercury from her patients' mouths, the mercury fillings. So that started a whole journey for her. And she is very in tune to all kinds of holistic, natural health issues and remedies, and she speaks and writes about them. So today, we're talking about something that's in her course. Her course is part of the Natural Health and Healing Bundle. It's called Real Foods for Real Families. I think I let you in, Michelle, but I don't see you. I accepted it. And her course is amazing. It's a value of close to $400 and worth every penny. It's just in-depth. It has food, meal plans, all kinds of advice and tips for saving money and saving time. Wonder why says go live with Dr. Michelle, but it's not. I'm clicking it, but it's not accepting it. Let's try a third time. Maybe the third time will be a charm. Oh, it says unable to join. I wonder why. She wants to join, go live. I'm clicking that. Well, maybe it's just a little quirk on Michelle's end, and maybe she'll be here in a second. But her course is amazing, and it's bundle. Oh, yay!
There we go.
It with me. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hello.
So I just did an introduction, told them about you, a little bit about your history, your personal health history, and I was just telling them how amazing your course is. I actually spent some time the past 2 nights. I sat down going through your videos, looking at your workbooks that accompany every module or chapter. I was just telling them it's worth every penny at full price, but it's part of this bundle, which is crazy.
Hi. Sorry, I have my grandbaby here because I had a new grandbaby born on Monday. So grandbaby number 1 gets to hang out with grandma all week.
Oh, I love it.
So she's having fun today.
For making the time, because you could be playing with this sweetness.
Right.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know why I thought you were going to be at the office today. So that's awesome that you get to be home and helping with the grandbaby.
Today's a grandma day.
I love it. I love those days. They're best.
Yep, they are.
So I was just explaining to everyone that we are talking about, there's more than 4, but we're just talking about 4 foods that you break down in your masterclass that people should consider avoiding if they want to avoid inflammation.
Yep.
So go for it. How would you like to start?
Okay. Well, first of all, the Real Food course is intended to help everyone bring real food into their kitchen and into their meals. Yep. And that's what I often hear a challenge. People will say, well, I get it. Like, I understand why I want to eat differently, but I just don't know how to make it happen. And so the course walks you through everything from chapter 1 is what's called homemade-ish. Like, how do you kind of ease your way into these kinds of things, and then gives you guides on which things to add, which things to take out, how to do it, and what to eat along the way. It includes meal plans and shopping lists and everything else. So really, honestly, it's a great, phenomenal course. We threw it into the bundle because we thought, I just really want people to learn this information. So let's dive into these big 4 that we wanted to talk about. The first one is refined sugar. And it's interesting because I just finished actually a manuscript that will be published. So published for big publisher, Simon & Schuster, next spring.
Oh, that's awesome.
And as
I knew about your book, but I didn't know you were with Simon & Schuster. Congratulations. Yep. That's awesome.
Yep. So it's going to be great. And in it, I talk a lot about what's called cell signaling. And cell signaling is the way that our cells talk to each other, because honestly, health comes from cells. That's just how it works. And cells talk to each other. They communicate with each other as well as telling each other what to do. And one of the things that they use and they know how to deal with constantly is sugar. So we've heard about insulin. Everybody knows about insulin and diabetes, but do you really know how it works? The body will release insulin in response to sugar. So you eat sugar, body releases insulin, and insulin then grabs the sugar and then the cells say, hey, me over here, I need some sugar. So then it goes and puts the sugar in the cell. Well, the problem with refined sugar is it is extremely fast to absorb. This is compared to like an apple. An apple has sugars in it. However, they're combined with fiber, with other phytochemicals inside of that apple, and it slows down the release. Well, when we just eat something with just straight refined sugar, there's no slow release. It's fast release. So all of a sudden you get this huge sugar dump. So you feel that high a bit, and then you get an insulin release, which puts all the sugar where it's supposed to go. The problem is that it wears out. This mechanism can wear out and get tired and a little confused. Oh, good job. It can get confused when we're giving it so much sugar to deal with, and that fast release sugar. So it leads to what's called these metabolic issues. Insulin resistance. What is insulin resistance? Your cells just literally, it's like, that story of the boy who cried wolf. Well, eventually the cells are like, you're telling me there's sugar every single minute. I'm not going to take it all. I can't take it all. So what does the body have to do with it? It has to shove it into fat. So we get fat around the middle, which is very dangerous for heart health, all sorts of things like that. So it leads to these metabolic diseases when we give our bodies refined sugar. Does this mean you can't eat sugar? No, I just had some beautiful strawberries this morning that had sugar in them. But the sugar in that strawberry, like I said, is bound up in fiber. It's including all sorts of other chemicals like vitamin C and vitamin
Right.
A and things that your body needs to do that cell signaling.
Right.
So you don't have to just cut sugar out of your entire diet. That's not the concept here. Actually, sugar is your number one, not sugars, but carbohydrates, is your number one food for your cells.
Yeah.
You need these carbohydrates.
And we need the energy. Energy's
you need
good.
the energy, but you need them combined with other food compounds. So you need sugar in food. You don't need sugar by itself. That's the key. So you need to look for sugars that are in foods, not in just a refined sugar thrown in to sweeten something. No, eat the food in its whole form. So that's the first one that you wanted me to talk about, was these refined sugars.
Now I want
The next
to pop in quickly and say too that you can use complex natural sugars if you're making, cookies, you're baking, you want to add sugar in some way. So I actually was telling everybody, I have a little show and tell. So for this one, my choice is often coconut sugar because it's a complex sugar made from the nectar of the plant, and it has all those phytonutrients that's going to help your body absorb that complex sugar.
Yep.
Okay.
Love it.
So on to number 2.
The other one I love is dates. I love dates as a natural sweetener.
Yes, me too. And I use date syrup if I need something that's more of a liquid, and I use date sugar sometimes for the sugar. Yeah.
Honey also carries other beneficial compounds with it. So honey is another natural sweetener. So there are absolutely
and maple syrup. Don't forget maple syrup, because I'm a sugar maker, so I have to throw that in.
Yes, absolutely, maple syrup. And you tell us, which one should we actually get, type A or B? Do you have a preference, or do you have a suggestion?
Oh, I like the dark as you can get it, because the dark is richer and more loaded with the good stuff.
Yep. So look for that type B maple syrup, which I love as well. Yeah. So that's a big one. Is the next one seed oils? I'm thinking it is.
Yes, we can do seed oils. There's no specific order.
Okay, perfect. I'm just remembering only 3, so you'll have to remind me about the 4th when we get there. Okay, so seed oils. The problem with seed oils is a couple of things. First of all, there's 2 types of fatty acids, 2 main types. They're called omega-3s and omega-6s. We hear a lot about omega-3s. Those are the ones that are in fish oil. That was the big fish oil craze for a long time, because we need those omega-3s. They're very healthy for your brain. They're very healthy for your nerves. They're healthy for your heart. They're healthy for a lot of things. Well, seed oils contain high levels of omega-6s. It's a different type of fatty acid, particularly something called linoleic acid. Well, those are actually very inflammatory to the body. And some sources have both omega-3s and omega-6s. But the problem with seed oils is they only have the 6. They don't have any 3s to balance out the inflammatory properties in the omega-6s. So this is a huge problem, especially because we're using them. They're being used for everything. So they're substituting every other version of fats in our body. Well, our bodies don't need that much omega-6. That's one problem. The second problem is in the refinement. It often changes the structure of the oil itself. And in fact, I was learning all about even non-extra virgin olive oil, the regular olive oil, the processing that happens there, it strips a lot of the good nutrients out of the oils that come often naturally with these seeds. I mean, a sunflower seed is not bad, but when you create a refined sunflower seed oil, it strips all of the rest of the good out of that sunflower seed. And oftentimes the oil is heated. And when it's heated, it actually creates a rancid situation. And rancidity is simply the oil not being usable by your cell any longer. So they change the flavor of it. They change all sorts of things, the smell of it, so that you can't taste or smell that it is actually rancid, which means your cell is going to reject this oil, and it's going to have to land somewhere else and cause inflammation in that somewhere else. So what are these oils? They are corn, big time corn. That's a big one. Canola, safflower, and sunflower. Those are the main ones. So what do you use instead?
And vegetable oil, right? I don't think you said
vegetable is all of those things. So when we quote unquote say vegetable oil, it's going to be any of those things I just named. It's mostly corn.
So what do I use? You asked?
Yeah,
I use avocado oil.
Instead?
I'm a huge fan of avocado oil if I need something like in a liquid form. But my favorite healthy fat to use is actually, you know what it is?
Coconut oil. Is that, or lard?
It looks like that. It's lard though. I'm also a pig farmer. We're sugar makers and we're pig farmers, and this is processed from the fat of our pigs. And this is my absolute favorite thing to use for an oil.
Absolutely.
Or a fat.
So coconut oil, and a lot of these, like she said, avocado oil is the great liquid version. A lot of these are actually going to be saturated fats like lard, butter, and coconut oil. Saturated fat simply means it's hard. Basically, it's not liquid at room temperature. So those are all very healthy fats. Yep, you can see it's hard. It's not liquid at room temperature. Yep. If you need a liquid one, avocado oil, and it is my go-to as well. That's what I use for an oil. And these, so you don't want the inflammation of the seed oil. It's just extremely damaging to your cells. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. And every single cell in your body is actually surrounded by fats. It's made of fats. The outside layer of every single cell is made of fats. Well, when you use a refined oil like this, what it does is it creates every single cell. It's kind of like it's wrapped in saran wrap. Now there's no communication. Things can't go in and out of those cells like they should. So the more seed oils and refined oils you use, the less your cells are able to communicate and work well, and they often will die. And this leads to premature aging, inflammation and premature aging. So seed oils are really a problem. And it's interesting because I'm very gluten sensitive, but I've been very careful about gluten. I haven't been eating it lately, but I can't eat out even when I don't eat gluten. And I finally realized I think it's the oils. I think I'm just incredibly sensitive to that.
Wow.
Yep. So
okay, you're teaching me stuff. Every time I talk to you, you teach me stuff. I love it. But I actually didn't know that by using my lard, I may be avoiding some added wrinkles. I mean, that's awesome.
Correct. Absolutely. Because you're making your cells more flexible. They're able to communicate better with one another. Yep. Because every cell is surrounded by fats.
I love it. So another one to avoid is the refined flour.
Refined flour. All right. So let's go to refined flour next. Here's a little bit of controversy. The controversy is that a lot of whole grains have issues too, because whole grains, if not soaked, sprouted, or fermented, so when I'm talking about that, I'm meaning sourdough, those kinds of things, they actually have something called an anti-nutrient on the outside. So that anti-nutrient makes it so that your gut doesn't digest the nutrients that come along with that flour. It's a problem. So if whole grains aren't handled properly, they can also be problematic. So this one's a little, it's challenging sometimes. Refined grains, on the other side, have none of the bran, the germ, those kinds of things that go along with the whole grain that are very good for us.
Yeah, they get rid of all that when they process it, and they just keep the starch, essentially.
Yep. And then the starch does exactly what we talked about. It gives you that sugar spike. It gives you that insulin rush, and it leads to metabolic issues. Obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, all of these kinds of things, hormone issues. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, you handle grains properly. So whole grains used properly are the way to go. And I actually have another book that talks a ton about this. I have one called Self-Sufficient Living. And inside of that, I talk all about how to handle grains properly. Because if we're using brown rice, we should be soaking it before we cook it. If we're using whole grain wheat, we should be soaking it, we should be sprouting it, we should be making a sourdough, out of it before we use it to really get
What about if you're grinding it yourself? What about if you're grinding it yourself?
Grind yourself, and then you need to use it. So you go ahead and grind it all. That's awesome. But now you've just ground those, what's called phytic acid, up with the grain. So now you need to soak it. And that's the sourdough process. You just need to soak it before you utilize it. You need to, what the soaking does is it actually washes that phytic acid and makes the nutrients more available to your body. So it's not that whole wheat bread is bad, but if that's all you're going to eat forever, you're going to actually impair your ability to absorb nutrients properly, particularly minerals. And I see people who are whole grain bread eaters who have cavities. Why? Because they're impairing their ability to absorb minerals when they're eating only whole grains that have not been soaked, sprouted, or fermented. So sourdough.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So you need to be handling those whole grains properly. So this is where sometimes I eat white rice. If I don't have time to soak my brown rice for hours, then I'll eat some white rice, knowing I'm eating my white rice with a huge veggie stir fry.
Okay.
That's bringing a lot of those nutrients to the meal that are left out of my grain. So this is actually one that I may be on the fence on, that it both need to be handled properly to utilize them the way that they're intended to.
So how long does it need to soak? If I'm making cookies, if I'm making rye cookies and I grind this up with my flour mill, do I soak it in some of the ingredients of the cookie mix and let it sit there a little while?
Exactly. So start it the night before. Put the flour with whatever your liquid is, let it sit overnight, and then finish the cookies in the morning.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. And I mean, you're eating well, you have nutrients coming from elsewhere. So it's not like every single thing has to be handled exactly perfectly.
Right.
But the problem I see is when there's all whole grains and it's never handled properly. And then I see mineral deficiencies.
Okay, that's
So an
fascinating.
occasional
And also,
cookie.
you mentioned rice. If you're choosing the white rice for this reason, you can still choose a better white rice like basmati, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, eat it with something that's nutrient full.
Yeah. Okay. Last
Yep.
one is feedlot meat.
Feedlot meat. So we're going to go right back to that same omega-6, omega-3 problem. The issue is that beef are intended to eat grass. That's the way their stomachs were made. They were not intended to eat grain, particularly corn. So feedlot beef are fed with grains. Their stomachs aren't intended to have the grain to begin with. So the issues that happen there is it creates an acidosis in their stomach because they aren't actually, they aren't meant to eat those grains. So it creates a very acidic stomach and acid resistant. She wants to say hi. She's very interested too. Thank you. Huh? So the acid, one of the acid resistant bacteria is E. coli. This is where you'll get E. coli outbreaks in feedlots because that acidosis, where their stomach is not digesting the meat or not digesting the grain properly, creates a very acidic environment, which fosters the growth of E. coli.
Okay.
So what do they have to do? They have to feed the beef, they have to feed them antibiotics constantly because they have to counteract the problem that the grain causes in the beef. That makes sense? So
whenever
they
we go away from a real situation, a real world, real food situation, and we try and manipulate it, we always have this compounding result.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we get E. coli, now we have antibiotic usage. And so those things are all going to be in the meat, obviously. The other issue is when beef are fed grain, remember grain are heavy in omega-6 fatty acids, not the omega-3s like we like. So when they're fed grain, where do they get the fats that are in the beef? They get them from their food, right? That's the only place that doesn't just like poof, come out of nothing. They can only grow their muscle tissue and fat tissue can only grow from what they are fed. So if they are fed omega-6 fatty acids, they only have omega-6 fatty acids in their tissues that we then eat. So now we're getting a highly inflammatory diet because those omega-6s are inflammatory in our bodies. And like we talked about, they accelerate aging, all of those kinds of things. So now the meat, so the cow is not well, the cow is unwell, and then we eat the meat from the cow that's unwell, and it makes us unwell. So what needs to happen is cows need to be able to eat the food that they were intended to eat, that their stomachs were designed to eat, which is grass. When they eat grass, they actually have a really cool process that they are able to bioconvert the things in the grass to things like vitamin K2, which is absolutely essential for teeth health and bone health. They get that when they eat the grass. So you have to have grass-fed beef for the eating of the meat itself, but also dairy, grass-fed dairy, because dairy products, anything that the cow produces can only be produced from the food they're fed. So the dairy is going to be high in omega-6s if they're only fed omega-6 containing foods. But if they're eating grass, again, they're able to bioconvert that, and you get those vitamin K2 levels, vitamin D3 levels, things that you need for overall health because they got it from the food they ate. So it's all about food. I talk about this all the time. We are only as healthy as our food is because our bodies are literally made from our food. Think about it. Where else would it come from? We're made from our food, and our food is made of what it's fed. So
absolutely.
We have
and a whole other thing, another wrench that you didn't even mention is you're assuming these cattle were actually raised in the U.S. 9 times out of 10, when you go to the grocery store, it's actually something that's been shipped on a cargo ship as a frozen carcass from maybe China. We don't know how it was raised at all. We have no control over it. It comes here, but as long as it is in some way packaged or sliced or cut in some way, it can be labeled product of the U.S. So you're going to the grocery store and the meat says it's product of the U.S. and it's not even something we even know how that animal was raised. At least with our own in our country, it's a horrible situation, but at least we know how it's done, right?
So, and anytime I get to the end, what's the solution? Because you raise your own.
Now, this is not something everybody can do, but I just pulled this out of our freezer. This is pork chops from our own pigs raised on our own pastures. We also raise them in wood because then they get all the nuts that come from the trees and they get to eat the bark of the tree.
Those amazing fatty acids. And they have vitamin A in there, vitamin E in there.
and you're getting the vitamin D with the pork because they're in the sunshine. It's just amazing stuff. But I do have really good news for everybody watching, that there's a giveaway going on currently that I am part of, that you can get a whole box to fill your freezer with grass-fed and finished beef from a a U.S. farm out in the Midwest. So everybody, make sure you comment wellness when this live is done, and I will get you everything you need to sign up for that giveaway and get some of this amazing meat.
Awesome. You know, and that's what I always tell people is at this point, sometimes people are feeling like we're just talking doom and gloom. You know, we're all going to just die because our food's so terrible. And so I always say, start where you can. Start where you are. You know, what's the simplest thing to do? Go buy an apple today and have that as your snack. You know, instead of a refined sugar treat, go and buy an apple. And that's a really easy way to just start on the path. And I find that when you start one place, it's easier to do the next thing. And it's easier to do the next thing because honestly, you're feeding yourself more energy. I get all of my meat from local growers. I actually find it on online classifieds, interestingly enough. So that's where I go, to online classifieds, and I find local growers that are willing to, I go directly to the butcher. Oftentimes they take the animal to the butcher. I go right to the butcher and get it from there. And I fill my freezer up with that kind so that I never have to.
But you're in Utah, right? So you have lots of great ranches out there.
We do.
I'm in New England. We
ranches.
have some. We have some, nothing like Utah. But just one more thing to tell people, to encourage them. You can order. It's crazy now how many ranches out there in the U.S. will ship the really good grass-fed and finished beef to your door. They put it in a box that's insulated. They put dry ice in there. So even if you're in the middle of a city, you're not out in Utah like Dr. Michelle, that you have these great ranches around, you can order online. And I'm going to send you information about that. If you comment wellness, I will send you information about my favorite ranch that even have free shipping, which is crazy.
Nice. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me
on. I
love sharing.
And I think you can pop out and I can finish, right? I think you can just pop out.
I'm sure if I were smart, I would know how to do that. So I will try to figure it out. I believe so. Okay, thank you.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Michelle. And just to wrap it up really quickly, I just want to let you guys know, I know I've said it a few times, but please comment wellness. I'm going to send you all kinds of stuff, a lot of the stuff that we talked about, and resources to the really good options that we talked about, and that giveaway that I mentioned, and the schedule for the upcoming lives here on the Natural Health and Wellness Week. But please, absolutely, part of what I'm going to send you, I want you to make sure you check into. It's called the Natural Health and Healing Bundle. It is 150 resources, like Dr. Michelle's course, like my Kombucha Academy. They're both included. Lifetime access is included for only $50. 150 books and courses for only $50. It's insane. I'm like beyond excited about it, and I know I'm talking a lot about it, but I feel like I'm not talking enough because I want everybody to have access to this. This is a way to take back control of your own health, to have these resources available. They're yours forever, and you can access them, look at them, be informed before you go see the doctor, figure out some problems you might be dealing with inflammation or gut health, and have all these solutions at your disposal at your disposal. So please check it out. But on top of that, I really want to encourage everyone to get access to this bundle. So I'm offering a free gift to you. I have a book that's coming out next week. So excited about it. It's called Second Ferment Secrets. And I'm giving that to you. Everybody who uses my link to go purchase that bundle, I'll send you that when you comment wellness when the video is over. And by the way, guys, drop a comment. I'll be on for another minute. I'm going to look through the comments. Drop a comment if you have any questions, I'm sorry, is what I'm trying to say. So go ahead and either say hi or ask me anything, and I will go through the comments one more time before exiting. But I want to give this book to you because it's just one more way that I want to encourage you. And it goes perfectly with my Kombucha Academy, which you'll have access to with this bundle. So the link I'm going to send you has information about how you can get a free copy of my book next week when it comes out. So we have at least 2 more lives next Monday and Tuesday. That's going to be on the schedule I send you, and the details about the lives, the days, times, and topics. And let me know your questions about this bundle as well, because I know I've been mentioning it, but I haven't really done a lot in stories. Maybe you'll see me in stories talking about it a little bit more. Let me know if you have questions about the bundle itself, because I know it's a little overwhelming. There's so much there. And if you go and look at the link that I'll send you and you scroll through, you're like, wow, could I even like process all this, or is this really something I can use? Well, first of all, yes, it's definitely something you can use. And for that price, if you're only going to use one course, Dr. Michelle's meal plans or my Kombucha Academy, it is such an amazing deal if you're just going to use one of those. So I want to make sure if you have any questions about it that I can help you work through that. Okay, I have Lori saying, thank you, Michelle. Hope the kittens are all okay. Me too. I haven't heard another sound. So when we're done, I'm heading that way into the woods just to take a peek. And Red Cottage Farm said, I do have a question about the bundle. Okay, go for it. Drop it in the comments. Also, anybody who's commented wellness, I see a lot of you have. I cannot see that. As soon as I hit the little exit X, all your comments aren't available to me. And I really want to make sure I get you this information. So please take a second when I exit this, when this is over, to just come back and comment wellness. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you are watching this after it's live, so you guys for sure leave your comments and I will send you all the details. So Red Cottage Farm, I'm looking to see your question. I don't see it yet. Is agave any good? That is not one I know a lot about. I believe that's a complex sugar though, agave. I tell you what, comment wellness when I'm done, Sue, and I will, Sue Jeremiah is asking that. I will send you, in that link that I send you, is going to be my complete guide to complex all natural sugars. So maybe that will give you some more insight. Okay, Red Cottage Farm, I'm still looking for your question. Since I don't see it, could you send it to me, please, directly? Just send me a DM. And that's true for anybody watching this after the fact. Any questions you have at all about what Dr. Michelle and I talked about or about this natural health and healing bundle, just send me a message. It's available through June 13th, which I believe is Wednesday of next week. So it's available a few more days, but if you're like me, you think, oh, there's plenty of time, I'll get back to that, and then you forget. And then June 14th comes around. And I feel so bad because I get these messages in my inbox saying, I don't see the bundle, how do I get it? And I have to say, I'm so sorry, it's gone. Like, I know this sounds dramatic, but it's true. It's gone forever. Like, this is a very unique set of books and courses that have been put together, and it's not ever going to be put together like this again. So don't hesitate. Dive in for $50, take control of your health, take it back from Big Pharma, Big Food, and Big Ad, take control of it yourself, and grab this bundle. How do I get the bundle? Good question. There is a link in my bio, it will be there until June 13th, that you can click that. It says, I think something bundle, I think it might just say bundle, or it might say natural health and healing bundle. Just click that and it'll take you right to it. And then reach out to me to get my free book in addition to that after you purchase it. But you also can just comment wellness on this live, and what I send you will include all the details about the bundle in addition to all the other resources we've been talking about. Okay, I think I've scrolled through everything, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me. This is so much fun. I feel like it's just a really fun way to connect with you guys. I'm going to probably be doing more lives after this week because it's been tons of fun. So have a fantastic day. Leave the comment wellness, and please join me again for the next one.